So for those of you who don't know, last year there were two whistleblowers that were testifying against Boeing, the airplane company, stating that Boeing was violating several safety protocols by mass producing a lot of airplanes, prioritizing quantity over quality, and that this would eventually result in several fatal crashes. Well, both of those whistleblowers would end up dead by way of suicide in the middle of testifying against Boeing. But before we get into today's episode, I want to let everybody know the Martin Luther King episode is on its way. It's a longer episode, but I promise you I have it coming. For those of you who are members of the Patreon, I will drop it on Patreon first, and then I will attempt to drop it on YouTube. I hope that YouTube will allow me to have it on this platform. I will give it a try, but it will hit the Patreon first. For those of you who are not members of the Patreon, please consider becoming a member. Link is in the description. And as many of us remember or should know by now, we kicked off the year with several plane crashes, with two of them happening within just a week. With the first plane crash happening January 29th at 8:47 p.m. Eastern Time in Washington, D.C., and the second plane crash happening on January 31st, just 2 days later in Philadelphia. And I believe that now brings us to maybe a total of 5 or 6 plane crashes in 2025 alone, with another plane crash happening December 29th, 2024, just days before we came into the new year. And now, gentlemen, unfortunately, as of yesterday, we now have another plane crash.
Lee, we're going to start with some breaking news out of India as new details are emerging about that devastating plane crash. Local media there are now reporting at least one passenger survived after an Air India flight bound for London crashed just after takeoff. In all, we're told more than 240 people were on board. That plane went down in a city in northwest India. Chilling video captured the moment it happened, but we want to warn you, the footage, it is difficult to watch. You can see the plane here flying low over a neighborhood before exploding into a ball of fire and black smoke. Authorities say it crashed in a residential area that was near a medical school. Parts of the aircraft's damaged tail seen here sticking out of the side of a building. Investigators now searching through piles of twisted metal and debris, looking for possible clues into what might have caused this latest disaster involving a Boeing jet.
I want to first and foremost say rest in peace to all of the people on that plane that lost their life. I believe it was 242 people with one potential survivor. And something interesting about this plane crash is, it's interesting altogether, right? But one of the interesting things about this plane crash is that they're saying that it happened 30 seconds within the air, right? This is what the survivor is saying. Within 30 seconds getting into the air, they heard some weird noises and then something went wrong.
Matt, what more can you tell us about this reported survivor, the only one? Bring us up to speed on the investigation so far.
Thank you, Ellison. Well, watching those videos, this is a remarkable development, but we understand now there is at least one confirmed survivor, a British national. His name does cross-reference with the passenger manifest. NBC News has checked, and our international partners at Sky News have actually confirmed with his family that he was on the plane and he did survive the crash. His name is Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, and he was, as we understand, traveling with a family member, and the family has not made contact with that second family member. But it does appear that he has been speaking to the local Indian media. The Hindustan Times, for example, citing a 40-year-old man of the same name, showing a ticket, describing the incident from his point of view, saying, quote, 30 seconds after takeoff, there was a loud noise and then the plane crashed. It all happened so quickly. He is being treated for impact injuries on his chest, eyes, and feet. So this is developing right now. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more from him, Allison. As for the investigation, we're, of course, at a very early stage in a very catastrophic crash with a modern airliner. There's so many questions about this. One interesting thing that we're starting to see online, including with aviation experts that we talked to, from at least one angle on those videos, it does appear that the flaps on the wings were retracted. That said, we don't know, and the authorities have not yet started narrowing down possibilities for what actually caused this.
Well, supposedly the same thing or something very similar happened with the Philadelphia plane crash, being that plane crash as well went down within 30 to 60 seconds in the air.
Joining us now with some insights is commercial pilot and flight instructor Robert Katz. Robert, thank you for doing this. What is your 43 years of experience, not only as a pilot but a flight instructor too, telling you about what could have gone wrong and made this happen tonight?
This is a very, very sad incident because it happened so suddenly and without without apparently any warning whatsoever. Information from FlightAware indicates that this is a MedJet's flight number 56, a Learjet 55, which departed Northeast Philadelphia Airport to the southwest and traveled no further than about 1 nautical mile. Here we have a photograph of an example aircraft, a Lear Model 55. This is not the actual airplane that crashed, but this is what the jet would look like. It is a very high-performing corporate jet. It is well suited for air ambulance work, so the application of this airplane on this occasion is appropriate. And then we see on the data from FlightAware only 3 radar hits across a period of time of only 31 seconds of flight. The airplane is climbing at over 2,200 feet per minute, which is what I would expect from a Learjet, but then it disappears suddenly and catastrophically at about 1,400 feet above the ground, elevation out there being around 200 feet above sea level. My first impression of what may have happened here, pure speculation on my part, is some sort of catastrophic mechanical failure, probably due to deferred, cheapened, or neglected maintenance.
Another interesting thing about this plane crash, that being the one in Philadelphia, is that plane crash was holding a medical patient who I believe was a child, and that medical patient had been treated at Shriners Hospital. And the reason why that's important, for those of you who may be new to this channel, is because an organization that we heavily talk about on this channel are the Freemasons. And I heavily believe that the Freemasons are behind a lot of things that happen in this world, especially this country, and not just a conspiracy theory. We bring receipts and facts on this channel. Well, the Shriners Hospital, why is this important? Why am I mentioning this? Because for those of you who don't know, Shriners is a high-level sect of Freemasonry. But not only that, the Shriners literally focus and prioritize children. That's what they do. You take with that information and do with it as you see fit. But I'm just bringing you the facts. Here you have 2 planes that went down within 30 seconds in the air. And nobody seemed to be able to answer why this keeps happening. And another interesting fact is the Washington, D.C. plane crash that happened, I believe, January 29th of this year. It was holding aboard a group of U.S. figure skaters who all tragically lost their life. Well, for those of you who don't know, February 15th of 1961, the same exact thing happened. A plane crash happened, and on board was a group of U.S. figure skaters who lost their life. I've had it with coincidences on this channel. I keep talking to y'all about that. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And this smells fishy, man. It smells very fishy. And I gotta share this just for what it's worth. Because if these planes are disintegrating in the air and these professionals don't seem to actually have the answers, they have proposals, they have suggestions, they have their, suspicions, but I don't know if anything has been exactly confirmed as of yet. And that's extremely scary.
Looking at the angle of the airplane as it hits the ground, that steep angle doesn't happen. The pilots can't create that. This isn't a matter of the pilot pushed over the airplane. It would be very hard to create that steep an angle from that altitude. Most likely this airplane stalled. And now what's a stall? A stall is not like in your car where the engine just stops running. A stall in an airplane is when the wing, the flow of air over the wing is disrupted. It stops flowing properly.
And I gotta share this. I haven't shared this ever on this podcast. At least I don't believe I have. But I've shared it with anybody in real life who would listen to me. I've only flown on a plane about 3 or 4 times in my life. And the second time I've ever flown on a plane was last year. And I was flying to Las Vegas. And on this plane ride, the flight to Las Vegas was fine. But on the way back, it was one of the most scariest moments I've ever witnessed in my life. And this is different from just regular turbulence, right? Because something that I do is I do what most humans would probably do, look around and see how other people are reacting. And when normal turbulence is happening, I don't panic. It's cool. It's whatever. But when you have things happening that isn't regular turbulence, and everybody on the plane is freaking out, we have a problem. We're flying back from Las Vegas, and we stopped in Denver first. And when we left Denver, that ride plane to my home state terrified me. This is turbulence. Even this is heavy turbulence, right? Let me tell you what's not turbulence. When the plane does this. 30,000 feet in the air. That's not turbulence. When it feels like your stomach has risen up to your throat, when mostly everybody on the plane is gasping and clutching their seats and looking around in panic mode. What is going on, bro? I've never sweated so hard in my life. I was praying to the God above to allow me to survive that plane. I was like, I'll be honest. In that very moment, I said, I'll never get on a plane again. I had a friend of mine to tell me, while she believed that it wasn't just heavy turbulence, it didn't really sound like she fully believed me. She said she didn't want me to overreact. And I told her, I'm not a person that typically overreacts. I wouldn't say I'm terrified of heights. I don't care to be up that high, but I'm not a person to overreact. I'm a pretty cool, calm, and collected person. That wasn't normal. There was something wrong. That wasn't bad weather. Something was wrong with the plane. I understand the statistics and how flying on a plane is supposed to be the safest method of transportation, and the level of, or the number of accidents, when your car accidents compared to plane accidents, it's not even close. I get it, but there are far more cars on the road. There are far more drivers as it is pilots. It's reasons why there are far more car accidents than there are plane rides. I get it nonetheless. And also, most car crashes do not result in somebody losing their life. I can guarantee you most plane crashes, especially when you're 20, 30,000 feet in the air, you're probably going to lose your life. And some of these, they're 30 seconds in the air. They're not even 30,000 feet in the air yet. Something is wrong here. And when you consider the fact that, once again, you had whistleblowers coming out saying this, something is wrong here, people. We speak about the Masons. The Masons are behind TV shows like The Simpsons. And when The Simpsons keep quote unquote predicting, they're not predicting, they're foreshadowing. That's really what they're doing. There are certain things that are planned. It's just what it is. Certain things that are planned for certain things that they need to happen to push something that they got planned further down the line. They first need other things to take place first to be able to set that precedent. When you got things like that happening, we have a problem. When they're saying and predict, quote unquote, foreshadowing these things in episodes like the Trump inauguration, like plane crashes.
Simpsons' prediction about the mystery of crashing planes in 2025. In Simpsons, Lisa stumbles upon a hidden document while visiting an abandoned airport hangar. The paper suggests a monopoly scheme by major airlines. Their profits are sinking as smaller airlines gain popularity with cheaper tickets and better services. To stay on top, the big companies allegedly conspire to cause chaos in the skies, shutting down competitors. The townspeople, terrified by the constant news of crashes, stop flying altogether. Marge decides their summer vacation plans need to involve anywhere reachable by car, and Homer suggests to building a boat. Meanwhile, Bart sells fake crash-proof helmets at school, capitalizing on the chaos. With the town buzzing in fear, Lisa tries to warn the authorities, but no one listens. The episode hinted on more crashes in 2025, unless the monopoly is exposed.
Like Kobe Bryant's plane crash and many other things. We have a problem. Once again, rest in peace to everybody that lost their life. We've now had 545 fatalities this year, which is already more than we had in the entire year of 2024. We have a problem here, people. Hop in the comment section, give me your thoughts, man. Rest in peace to everybody who lost their life. I'm Demetrius. I go by DD. That's all for this one. Peace. Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.